Good morning, folks. And I checked this time. Should have the sound working correctly. As promised, we're gonna go and finish the basing here on these Amorites that we did last night on the fast blades. Move these other troops out of the way here, so our current project can take center stage. So if you joined me last night, you saw that I went ahead and put my goop material down. With the little rocks pressed in there. And it's dry enough where I can paint it. It dries semi-clear. And that's what we're going to base this morning. Now, I noticed this the scheme that I use for this particular army is a desert scheme that I shamelessly lifted off of the Flames of War website. And they have several suggestions for I don't play Flames of War, but they have really good ideas, inspiration, what have you. And one of the things that they have on there is they've got lots of examples of their basing for a lot of their figures. And they did an article several years ago about desert basing. So before I ever built a desert army, I went on there and got some ideas for the colors because I showed them finished, and I picked this particular one, which ends up looking like this, or like this by the time I'm done with them. And you know, these are the Amorites. This is what the basing is. I'm going to intend them to look like. But the colors I used, I was getting pretty low on, and those colors are English uniform, green ochre, and dark sand. That's the three colors that they used in that article. And I noticed I was really low on English uniform and kind of low on green ochre. So I went ahead and ordered those through the mail, and I'm going to use these up before I go to the other ones, and we're going to do a test here, but you'll notice the colors look significantly different. Now, I don't know if it's fading of the bottle, but they look like two different, completely different colors. So that's kind of disappointing, honestly. And then the green ochre also looks different, and they got the same codes. This is code 141 down here, and this is code 141. So we're going to do a test right here and see if they're actually the same color, and let that dry a little bit and see if they mature differently or what have you. And this is code 119, and this is code 119. These look a little different as well, but just to be safe, so we don't have a problem, we're going to make sure we use the same old colors so that the basing stays the same on them. All right. Now, for a little test, and we're not going to spend a lot of time doing that. Until I prep for this show, which means pull the colors down, I had no idea this was the case. And I'm not going to use a white card or anything like that. This will suffice fine for our project. Let's get these guys back where they need to be. And they seem to have changed their colors because of a shortage of certain ingredients. Oh, man. Those sons of bitches. Just what we need. More sons of bitches in this world of ours. Oh, man. I shouldn't do this test. Let's see how far we're off. We're definitely not going to just roll into the other one. Shortage of materials. On hobby paint? Oh. All right, whose fault is it this time? China or the Taliban? That's what you were told by a source. I actually contacted Vallejo several years ago. I said, you guys make Vallejo t-shirts. And, huh? I said, yeah, I mean, I want to promote your paints. I don't want you to give me t-shirts. I just, I like wearing stuff that I use. No. Okay. Fine. All right. Wow. Ugh. Here we go. This is working really well, by the way. When I switched to, instead of using a piece of wood that I would use to apply my epoxy, I just said, why don't I just use a needle? And then I can clean the thing off like this and reuse it. And I can get even more off, but I don't need to. Let's see. We're going to use this. Let's go ahead and put this down here in the common area. And now the interloper. Bastards. And they got weird stuff like, look at this bottle and then look at this bottle. They're both new. Why is this one like long necked? It's still made in Spain. My ancestors aren't like they used to be. Oh, it's in Barcelona. That's not Spain. French interlopers. All right. We're going to start all kinds of controversy today. All right, I don't want to use a big amount of this, but this is like a clear thing too. Man, people got to change stuff, man. Ooh, I don't know, man. It looks totally different on here. Look, I mean, it's freaking dramatic. And, I comment sometimes that what you guys see isn't what I see. That's about what I see. But when you come down here, they're about the same. Let's come over here. All right. Where's my working pen? People come in here and say, hey, do I have a pen? I'm like, yep. And they disappear. This is old. This is new. We're going to let this dry for a little bit and come back to it. Hey, I didn't know it was going to be a science class today. Well, I'm in trouble. Never cared for science. Earth science, yes. Chemistry started out great. I'm like, I'm really going to like this with the electrons and the rings and all that. And then went to molality and normal. And I'm like, I'm out. Nope, I don't enjoy that crap. They stopped doing brown violet. What? I used to paint my base edges with that. I have one bottle of it. I have one. Man, I just can't trust nobody anymore. I have to go and change things. All right, let's get in here. And I normally wouldn't use thinner for this, but I think I am. And where's my tool? This is a scraping tool my wife bought. And I think it might come from the dollar store. And it was so bad. It was so poorly made. I gave her my scraper that is good, think it's like a Stanley scraper that, I don't know, it's probably really old. I'm using this one for this, so. I should do a video where I just break all the, I break and snap and all my. Oh, here's the other one. I wonder when I couldn't find it. I was looking for the needle the other day and it's lodged up against here. Let's move it away from the edge so I don't step on it. I do need to keep my feet going. And I don't make a habit of wearing shoes in the house, so. But they're also not on film. But they're not as scary as Mitch's, so you guys are in good hands. I wouldn't do that to you. I know some of you guys are trying to eat like a bowl of cereal when you're watching this and you don't want to see that. Oh man, let's get in here between these rocks here. Now, when I first took the scheme and took their word for it, this is awfully nice brush to be using for this. I better go in here and get the detail stuff done before it goes sideways. I started painting this and I'm like, this is way too light a color. This isn't going to work out. But I had faith and it worked out, but I had no idea they would have changed their colors. Why even bother having a color code then? You know, it should, if this was code 141, the new one should be called 141A or something. Been trying to catch up with the Papal games. How did they go? Oh, you really want me to spoil it for you? They actually played really fast. I don't want to spoil it for you. Let's just say they don't have a losing record. I've played 8 games with them, and they don't have a losing record, which is ultimately all I wanted. You know, I don't want to spend a couple hundred hours painting a bunch of guys, and they can't even win half their games. It's a wacky army. It is a wacky, wacky army. Let's just say it left me wanting to build another litter or command post. Now here's the problem. I don't know if that's the old one or the new one. How are we doing here? Is this like the same color? Well, I don't know. I put it on too thick over here. All right, we'll let it dry. Doing a paint test this morning was not part of the plan. I gotta husband that color until we're done with that army. Now you're gonna make me want to buy like, oh, this color works fine. Buy. What's the chocolate brown? I'm gonna have to change paint colors. I'm gonna have to change this gooping material. They don't have any respect for us slow painters. I have a saying that I coined. I'm gonna take credit for this one. It's not a great saying, you know. It's not something that it's gonna be echo for eternity. But one thing that pretty much sums up my daily life, especially at work, and it goes: just because you don't value my time doesn't mean I don't value my time. You know, some people are out there to waste your time, and that's just wasteful. You know, I could be doing something productive. And honestly, I think it's getting worse. I know it's getting worse. And not because of the pandemic. I'd say the last 5 years, things have certainly changed. I don't know, it might be 10. People just don't give a shit anymore. You go to a store, hey, do you have this? No. That's it. And they go back to surfing on their phone. Pre-convention crunch time, it is. Army's looking gorgeous. Thank you. They look pretty good for guys that aren't wearing any headgear or armor. And I probably will do another Book 1 Army at some time. I like this arid type basing a lot. It makes the figures pop quite a bit. Pre-convention, yeah. We're not going to have a huge showing. It's not really a convention. It's just our own little gathering. There's still going to be a convention. We're just not going to go to it. So, but that's fine. No hard feelings. We just kind of had to make a tough call a couple of weeks out because it involves people that... one guy that's coming from halfway across the U.S. Last time he played DBA is when I first met him. Mr. Jim Chaney. And he was in Arizona. Now he's in Texas. And he's going all the way across the state. So looking forward to seeing him. If the turnout is really low, we'll even film some live games. How about that? But depending who's there, there's some people that get a little... I'm sorry, I said live games. I didn't mean live games. I mean just games, and I can edit them later. Getting too many people in a live game, things can get out of hand. Not like we're going to get violent with each other, but some people aren't as eloquent as others. But this isn't the show. This is just our own gathering. It's the same time that the show is going on, unfortunately. So if people wanted to do both, they can't. Hey, maybe that's why it's called Hurricane. That's actually a shout out to Luke, who likes to say, "Are you a Mexican or a Mexicant?" I think that's from one of the Desperado movies, something like that. He said that many times. I'm like, okay, there's going to be your... Man, that's loud. Homage to him. Mr. Dirk, welcome. Good evening to you. The other land down... Wait a second. If Australia is the land down under, what the hell's New Zealand? The land down over? The land down over from the land down under. And you guys are just as down under as Australia is. The land down over. Make sure we didn't miss something. So of course, we don't want that stuff showing. Okay, that would just be dumb. But it is the pre-convention crunch time. They'll get done or they won't get done. I'm not going to fret about it. I've played with replacement units. The fast blade will be done though. Unless I have a heart attack in the next hour or so. Here's to hoping. But I stress out a lot less about this. I'm like, you know what? You know, if I got to replace these troops with something else and use them in their place, that's fine. You know, that's why I'm going to leave the chariot for last, because if I do the chariot last, my incentive to finish the chariot is going to be a lot higher than finish the solid auxilia, because the chariot is going to be fun to do. It's a lot of steps and it's a significant amount of work, but it's fun work. So I don't mind that. Now these rocks that are on here, this is real granite. This is actually samples from a granite supplier for work that we ended up not using or whatever. And he gave us these little vials of granite. I'm pretty sure it's from Georgia. We don't have any rock like that in Florida. It's all limestone type things. So that granite is harder than anything else on the figures. So you don't want to chew those. I leave them unpainted until last couple steps. And we'll leave some of their gray color on there. And it works for me. I got a lot of them, so. What time did we start? About 5:30. How long are we on here? 21 minutes? Okay, so about 5:30. I got to stop at 8 for sure. So hopefully we'll get these guys done. And it sounds like, oh, you should be able to do that. Nah, it takes a while. Oh, this guy's bending already. Ooh. It's funny, I actually have one figure left over, and it's that pose, so you give me too much trouble, we'll replace you. But it's going to be after the convention. I don't remember if this is the same color or not. No, too late, it's going to get mixed in with it. Going to get used up. Most of this is covered anyways. Oh, I got somebody new with a new color icon. I wish I could see. Mr. Simpson, welcome back. Oh, you stayed with me late and came in early. Good, giving you another reason to wake up. Sleeping's overrated. I used to stay up late, like till 2, and then wake up at 11 and stuff like that when I was younger. Nope. I'm not sleeping through breakfast. In my 20s. I just realized, I'd dread Mondays a whole lot less if I just woke up every day at the same day I woke up on a Monday. And, yep, that's what works for me. And frequently, including this morning, I'll wake up before my alarm. I'll be like, okay, what time is it? 3:48. Well, we need to stay in bed a little longer than that. But I had some caffeine last night, and what it does to me is I can still go to sleep. I'll wake up multiple times during the night, and that's what happened. I think last week I actually took a nap, which is unheard of. Wow, Mr. Patriot, good morning. You're here early. Out of Monsters Ultras. Good morning, folks. Monster Ultra. So, one of the first trips that we did, a driving trip to Historicon, I was driving and I'm like, let me get a monster drink. And I forget what it's called, but it was like a coffee flavored one. mocha something or another. I'm pretty sure it was a Monster drink. And it's got all this taurine and all this caffeine and all this stuff. So, oh, this ought to keep me up nicely, right? Well, the thing is, when it comes to caffeine, I'm kind of like an Irishman is to alcohol. I'm kind of immune to it for a while. It takes quite a bit of it. I've kind of lost a little bit of that. I don't drink a ton of coffee like I used to anymore. But I'm drinking this drink going down the highway, and it's like I'm just falling asleep and falling asleep and falling asleep. And then it hit me. At that point, I didn't realize it. I do now. So I avoid it like the plague. Unlike Mitch, I rarely drink sugar things. Rarely. And for me, caffeine keeps you up, but sugar makes me groggy. And I look at the contents of that, whatever the mocha thing that I was drinking, and it had a lot of sugar. So I'm like, well, that defeats the purpose. That's like one brings you up and the other one brings you down. It's like not having it at all. So I think that's when I had the realization that I'm like, let's not drink sugar anymore. I really never have sugar. And the chances when I do, I was getting these headaches. I was going to Historicon, for instance, and I would, not stressed out for anything. I mean, yeah, I'm playing a competitive game, but I don't care. I'm hanging out with folks. And I would get these massive headaches, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Well, we were so busy gaming that I would skip lunch. And to fill me up, I'd have a regular Coke and M&Ms. So I was getting this sugar overload. And, when you have a sugar headache, you can't just Advil your way out of the situation. So I'm not going to say it ruined my convention experience, but certainly put a damper in it, because I prefer pretty much anything to having a headache. Even explosive diarrhea. But not a headache. And I always feel like when I'm going somewhere new, I'm always fighting some kind of a headache. And I used to not drink a lot of water when I went to these shows, but for years now I drink a lot of water, so I try to stay hydrated. And I'm not somebody who I would even remotely consider to be in bad shape. I just, your body gets used to whatever stuff you ingest at certain times throughout the day. It just gets used to that. And when you start changing that, sometimes it rebels. The last time I went to Historicon in 2019, I had a really bad episode. It's right next, the new location is fabulous. And it's right next to an Irish pub. And we decided to have a beer after the last show, so around midnight, right? We got to be back at 9 a.m. And we had a short drive to the hotel we were staying at, because we didn't stay on property because there was no availability, for one. So I had one beer, one Yingling draft. Didn't even get a buzz from it. Had it, came back, went to bed, woke up in the morning, like at 5 a.m. with one of the biggest headaches I've ever had in my entire life. The hotel had free breakfast. I went down there, tried to eat breakfast, took some Advil, tried to drink water. Nothing would help. And I'm like, I don't know if I can make it back. And I think this was Friday night, so we still had all day Saturday. And I think throughout that day I may have had 3 beers total, including the one that I had at night. So it's not like I was drinking all day. And water throughout, because they have water available. I went back to the room. I said, Mitch, I don't know if I can make it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. And I kind of stayed calm for a little bit. And I went back to room, threw up. I was throwing up to the point where there was nothing to throw up, and I think I just got dehydrated. I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand what happened, but it was so bad that I was taking things out of the car when we finally got to the convention location. I just hurled in the parking lot like I was a drunk that was on drugs or I'd been drinking all night, you know, and then slowly started feeling better. But I don't like that either. A headache with a dose of that. But I you know, and I try to, you know, if you have something happen to you, you try to learn like, okay, I didn't like how this turned out. So what did I do that could have caused that? And I don't know. I don't know what I could have done differently. Luckily, it went away. But this guy's going to be really, really weak. This guy's going to be really weak. So if I grab this guy by the end, I don't know why he's so weak. I've got another Essex figure. It's the fast auxilia from my Sung army, and they are there's one guy on the end that before I even played the army like this, he broke off at the feet. I don't know why. We're just gonna have to hope for the best on this guy. Well, the other guy hasn't broken off yet in the other army, so it's a little too late to replace him now that he's epoxied on the stand. But we do have an extra figure to do, and if it comes down to it, I can always replace him and put him on there. But that's why I like the new alloy. I don't like Essex tends to use this softer alloy for their figures, and I don't like it as much because yeah, he's cracked at the feet there for some reason. Oh well, shit happens, right? Maybe this army will lose all its games and we'll put it on eBay really cheap. And I'm not going to tell you that one of his feet are broken, so you have to you buy something for like $1 and it's no good. How about that? It's payback. No, I've said it before. I'm not going to the post office again. I'm not going to mail things out. My last time I went there was such a pain in the ass. Okay, I think we're good with these guys. Let's grab them by the stand. All right. Maybe it's the pose. Maybe it's that silly pose. Ultra Sugar B6, B12. Will I preview the entire army after completing? Ooh, I don't know. Not in a video by itself. Those videos are fun to do, but they're the most time-consuming ones. I've done one for the Turks, my Sung Chinese, and Ostrogoths. I believe they take forever to take. And certainly not before the show. I'm going to be, I don't know. I forgot. I thought I was going to do all my armies, and I'm like, man, it's such a pain to do those. Sometimes you wonder if people are even watching stuff. I mean, the reason for me to do them is something ever happened to these guys, I still have a record of what they look like. You know, not so I can repaint them the same way, but just for, you know, doing it. And they do take a long time to take the photos and putting everything together. Probably, not counting actually shooting it, probably 3-4 hours, 5 hours, something like that. It's fun to do, it just takes time. If it wasn't fun to do, I would have only made one. They just take time, that's all. But it does allow me to talk about figures, which is I really love to do that. That's the appeal. I'm not one of those that's like, well, What figures did you paint? Well, whichever ones they gave me in the army pack. Wrong-o. That's the wrong answer for me. I'm not letting some knucklehead sorter decide what I'm painting. I don't mind having extra figures. And my buddy I used to paint with. He got into DBA as well, and he did not like anything that wasn't an army pack. He didn't want to have any figures left over. I don't know why, whether he thought they were going to wake up and come after him, or I don't know what the reason is. He did not want to have any extra figures. Has 0 sugar. Okay. Ultra Zero B6 B12. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. You know, when something happens to you, and I really haven't had anything happen to me of any significance, health-wise, luckily, you kind of try to learn by it. You know, I've gone to the chiropractor a few times in my life. I think they're super cool, and every time I go, I'm like, okay, well, let me figure out what the hell you're doing to me so that I can work things out of my neck. Because by the time you go to some of these places, it's already past the point where you could have done yourself some good. You know, whether it's like, well, you need to take some water so you don't do this. It's, you know, try to learn to take those preventative steps. And yeah, I do not like headaches. I can't think, especially when you got one that you can't, you feel like you need to throw up to feel better. So I'm not sure what happened. Maybe it was, I can't believe it was dehydration with as much water as I drank that day. And I only had one beer and I drank it slowly. I don't know. Well, you would have thought that I hadn't had water in like 4 days. I'm going to make a prediction that these guys will have a better win-loss record than the Hungarians, though. Those poor bastards are 3-11. And that army was already 1-3 before I painted it. So it's not like, you know, their previous losses really put me in a hole. No. That makes them, what, 2-8? On my own? I think the problem with some of these games are you'll play some army and you think it's great. And then you're kind of going over not having to try to be crafty or anything. So you kind of go in and I think what happened in one of the games the other night was like, I'm going to go win with my heavy foot. It's funny because there's, what army was I talking about this that had a lot of Saloy recently? Oh, the Turks. So the Turks have a terrible record, although I think they're 19-37 or something like that. Something along those lines. They haven't lost their games because of their Saloy getting them into trouble. I don't think the Saloy getting killed has been any of their factors of their losses. Likewise, I think that the Hungarian, most of the times they've lost, it's because heavy infantry has been blown to bits. Oh, they've got two solid spear and a blade. That's pretty damn ideal as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, I usually, like the game the other day, I'm like, I wasn't going to let him shoot his artillery piece in my war wagons. He wasn't going to win that way. So I sent the heavy infantry up, and I proceeded to roll ones when they got fired on and they fled the field. So I think all three of the heavy infantry broke and ran. And it wasn't like I was just going to send the infantry in by themselves. They were just going forward to keep them busy while I reorganized where the war wagons were. But the problem is they're caused two pips to move, and my pip rolls were so low. It's just part of the game. It's just, oh well. Shit happens, right? I'm going to need to rinse this because I need to go in here with something a little bit more surgical to get in between his legs. Sometimes when I know that something's going to be this challenging, I will go in and already paint the little part in between the legs first. But with an open order stand with 3 figures on it, it shouldn't be that cluttered, but it did, maybe because this rock that's in front of them. I don't know, it'll all be fine. I just want to go in here with something smaller and come in and do these details. That figure pose. The weak-footed figure pose. Should have known that I wouldn't have put him in the middle. Just gotta remember, Amorites is Semitic for, because they're a Semitic people from the Middle East. It is Semitic for weak-footed. I gotta remember that. So when I move the stand around, I try to make an effort to move it by the edge. That's why I do the thicker edge stands. I like them better. I posted a picture of one of my figures a while ago, and some guy out of the blue says, "I don't like your thick stands." Well, I do. I don't like the ones that are like wafer thin. I want them to look like playing pieces. I'm not trying to do a diorama. And it helps your figures not being damaged by picking them up. And if you have a little bit of overspray of this brown overbrush, it's not a big problem because it's going to get dry brushed on top of it. I just don't want any of this clear glossy showing through. Especially with this rocky looking basing, because there's no static grass to hide some of the messes. So I'll try to be a little bit more precise than when I apply the basing material than normal. Okay, I think we got everything there. All right, except that edge is not painted. Let's keep this handy. We may need to do that on one of the other ones. Let's back to this guy. Yeah, I never drink soda. I mean, I never drink sugar. Ever. Which, of course, then when I do, it's a problem, so. Like last night, we picked up something at the grocery store just for a quick dinner. And I'm like, man, I want something sweet. And we didn't buy anything. And I'm like, I'll just have an apple. I mean, that's my dessert, is a piece of fruit. So, candy and stuff like that, so I never have that. Now, Mitch, on the other hand, sugar whore. Complete and total sugar whore. I don't know how he functions. 2 more to do. This takes a while. You think, just throw it together. Well, this is the stage that takes the longest. Because you got to get everywhere. But I'm gonna have to cut out at 8 for sure. Gotta go get my windows tinted. I've had this car for, let's see, June, July, August, 4 months now and haven't had the windows tinted. I was kind of on the fence, as it is a lease, but I'm like, you don't void the lease adding value to the vehicle. But I'm gonna bite the bullet, and I don't know. Who knows what the car situation is when we're done with this lease? I don't see things changing anytime soon. We may have to just say, what's the worst case scenario? You just end up having to buy this car. It's not a car. I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm happy with the output and how it drives. So some people tend to think they're very unreliable. I think people just go crazy, and there's a lot of people. Man, car people are the worst. Well, there's probably worse people than that, but of all the communities that I've gotten involved in, car people are the worst. They're just, people that are into firearms are pretty bad too. And I mean bad as far as, interacting with other folks with the same interest and just generally being positive. I try to be positive about what you're doing, If you like to play Napoleonics, and I don't need to poo-poo Napoleonics. I could try to find something good in what you're doing to have you stay motivated. There's no reason to say, well, I don't know why the hell you painted the Austrians that way. They're not very good. That's not what my wife knows. This the saying all the time says that's neither nice, useful, or something. I forget. I don't know that saying, but don't put people down in a hobby. A hobby is supposed to be entertaining. So, firearms people, same thing. Oh, you got one of those? Those are no good. I got 4 of them and they ain't worth a shit. Why are you stupid and buy one? Just that kind of crap. Car people, same way. It's not the industry. It's not the interest per se. It's the people that are in it. So, several years ago, Mitch and I used to do some competitive shooting. I wasn't competing against anybody. I was just trying to get better with myself. And half of the people that would show up, I didn't ever want to see ever, because they just had a bad attitude all the time. The other half were cool, just kind of wanted to talk about our common interest, but easily half the people were uber competitive, and nothing was ever good enough. And I'm like, I'm sorry, dude, we're all going to make mistakes. I'm not talking about safety concerns. I'm talking about, not hitting the target how they wanted to. It's like, dude, man, I wouldn't play war games against people like that. They'd be like, okay, we're not playing again. Not doing that again. If you're doing a hobby, nothing should be a problem. Everything you're doing should be positive when you're doing that hobby, or don't go do it. Unless you're like a lawyer or something like that, and you're using your hobby to practice arguing against other people. I don't know, maybe that's their angle, but like I said, making videos is fun. When they stop being fun, guess what? I'm not going to make any more videos. So, I got a guy that I was trying to get to play DBA for a long time. Really nice guy. Him and I don't see eye to eye on societal things, let's put it that way. But he's still a nice guy. He's not out to, be difficult. He's really good at teaching games to other people. And I finally got him to go to a show and play a game of DBA. And the game of DBA he plays is a cooperative game, similar to the War of the Roses stuff that we did some of the videos on. And he gets put on the opposite side that I'm on. And the commander on his side is this guy who just has a bad attitude. He doesn't play with us very frequently. There's only, in almost 2,000 games of DBA, and about 150 different people I've ever played, there's only about 3 people that I've ever played DBA that I hope to never see again and play a game against them. And this guy's one of them. So he ended up getting put as the commander in charge on this new guy's team who I'd been trying to get to play DBA for a long time. And he's his own teammate, and he just treated him like shit, like he's an idiot, and, like he always treats people. And it ran him off, and he didn't want to play anywhere. So, I fully blame that guy for, running him off from that play. So that's not why I don't want to ever play that person again. I didn't want to play that person again before. But this is a guy who's got kind of some health issues, and he kind of takes it out on everybody else. And I have a feeling that it's not just the health issues. This is just this guy, how he's, how he is all the time. But he's one of the few people that I hope to never play another game of DBA against, because they're overly, like, it's there's no camaraderie there. It's like overly aggressive. It's like, it's just a game, dude. It doesn't matter who wins or loses as long as we both have fun. That really is the important part. The rest of it is irrelevant. I like to kid about my guys being losers and not winning games, or, why are they 3-11? It doesn't really, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter as long as you're not breaking my figures or walking away with them. It doesn't, if we're having a fun game, I don't care, It's just something to talk about, But yeah, I can honestly say this particular guy is one of the few people. Maybe there's a fourth one in there I never want to play, but it's a really low number. So yeah, that was a shame. He was a nice guy. I figured, hey, he's local, be able to play some more games, and maybe he wouldn't have enjoyed the game, but yeah, he told me, I can't stand that guy. So, well, I don't stand that guy either. I don't know why you put him over there. I want him to be on my side, but it didn't work out that way. Because I like playing DBA in big games when you have a teammate, but I don't want to micromanage them. Okay? So, if you ask me, hey, what should I do? If I see them doing something totally wrong, but I don't want to be like, take your guys and move them exactly here. I'm like, okay, well, why don't you just play them then, As long as the guy's not doing something deranged that's going to cause your side to lose, let him do whatever he wants. It's just a game. But lots of people out there like that. Go look at sports fans. I live in a town that has a huge sports presence. And they're crazy, man. They can't see logic. Oh, they won because they're cheat. Really? Every time? Come on, man. You got to step back and see, look at it from different perspectives, but scream at the TV. Just stop watching it. If it causes you that much turmoil, stop watching it. The news causes me turmoil. I don't watch the news. Screw them. Know what you mean about the videos. I'm staging backdrops for my figures in Photoshop, which is fun. When it's no longer fun, I'll stop doing it. Absolutely. The thing about the videos is, I already knew how to edit a video before I edited a video. And what I mean by that is, we've all seen enough programming, and we know, okay, I want the words of what this figures are, they come up, and I want it to fade up and then fade away while the other one, you already know how it works. It's just a matter of doing it. The editor I use is on my phone because it's very user-friendly. It's a little limited in that there's not, it's not DaVinci. But I use DaVinci on my computer once I got a computer. It's just too complicated. There's too many things there that you need to figure out how to crawl before you can start running a marathon. And it's like, here you go, have fun running across the earth. It's like, dude, I need to scale it back a little bit. And then when you do all this work, you go to try to export it, and then it hangs up. And the exporting part is actually the most frustrating. I cannot stand that process where it's like, okay, export it, and my phone's jammed. I can't take a phone. I've come close to say, F this, I'm not going to do it anymore. And it's all because something that should be simple is not simple. I'm not going to say F this painting because this is mindless, And yeah, it takes a long time to finish an army. But even with this guy that may break off, okay, so some later date, I replace him. Whoop-de-doo. I redid a whole army. My French ordonnance, I had to rebase them, and you wouldn't be able to tell. So even with basing guys on epoxy, it isn't an issue. So that stuff doesn't bother me. It's the whole, you've spent several hours. I'll give you an example, okay? There's this game that came out a couple years ago that I really like on computer, and I know several people that I know in person that this game would appeal to. Two people in particular. They're both computer gamers. This game is called Lock and Load. Is that what it's called? Lock and Load Digital Tactical, something like that. It's basically Advanced Squad Leader. It's their version of Advanced Squad Leader. A board game on computer. Turn-based, bound, that kind of stuff. You take a turn, the other guy decides to pass or take a turn. When the same guy passes, if both people pass or something like that, the turn's over. Anyhow, I really like the way the game works, and it's a board game, so you can't play it incorrectly. I didn't read the rules. I just figured out how to play it, and I played ASL for many years, and I really liked the game. However, for the longest time, I don't even know if it's fixed now. I'm not even going to try it anymore. That's how frustrating this was. The multiplayer wasn't fixed. See, I come from a time when you put a game out when it was finished. Not, okay, here's this game that came out, and it's only $8, but it could be full of bugs. So what ends up happening is they may never finish the game. And I understand why they do it, but it's kind of a new concept to me because I didn't play computer games for like 8 years, and during that time, Steam became full powerful, and then this new beta version of people buying games that are unfinished, and hopefully they'll finish them later. And what happens is you get frustrated with the game, and you just never go and play it again. So yeah, you got it at a discount, but you never played the full game. Anyhow, so this game, I played it against a computer, and I have no problem with a board game. It is a great looking game. But I would get together with a certain person, one of these people that I know in real life who also had the game, and it's like, okay, I'll tell my wife, listen, at 8, I'm going to play so-and-so, so let me go to my room and try to do it. And I would spend 15 minutes trying to connect to the other person, and then once we finally got that down, we'd start a game, and it would advance and not refresh on their screen. The packets would get lost, and I would go like an hour and a half, 2 hours of trying to play the shortest scenario available, and come up frustrated and failed. And I'm like, I got to stop doing this, because I literally want to put my fist through the wall, because I just waste, I basically told you, leave me alone so I can play this game. Didn't play the game, got frustrated along the way. I'm like, I should have been painting miniatures. I am not the personality type for that shit to happen. And that's what I'm saying is this may take a long time, but I'm constantly moving towards a goal. Like, okay, I'm painting shoes here, and then pants or whatever. And then eventually the figure will be done. Not like, okay, you painted your sugars, your sugars. You painted your shoes, and then your pants, and you're halfway done with the shirt. Oh, and something happened, and now all this stuff's unpainted. Now you start back. No, okay. I do not want. That's not my idea of a good time. So I think it's been over a year since I played it, and probably won't play it again, because I did try it like maybe 6 months after it happened, and they still didn't have the multiplayer figured out. They would just. It's a simple game. It's not live action stuff. It's you move counters over, and an attack happens, and you move the counters back, and I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like digital games because of that. You have to put a turn clock on me. I get caught up just looking at the armies and the spectacle of it. No, I don't have a problem with that. It's better than somebody that rushes you. Sometimes when we play DBA, it's a short game and we get off on tangents. It's all right. I get rushed all the time at work, and I don't think it's worth it. I'm getting paid, and I still don't think it's worth it. I hate being rushed. And the spectacle is important. I think that's a big appeal. I love looking at the figures. About 5 years ago, I've always been nearsighted. And 5 years ago, I realized, oh, now I can't see things up close either. Great. This doesn't have a good coating on here. Sometimes you got to touch things up. I don't know if it would have mattered, but because it's going to get dry brushed on top of it. So now I have to paint without my contacts in. So now I'm painting in, whatever it is, +6, built-in loop. And I'm actually enjoying, I don't know that it's making me paint better, but I am enjoying the figures a lot more. I'm enjoying the good job that these sculptors did. And I could have been doing this all along. I just didn't know. I had no idea that being nearsighted, this sounds extremely ignorant, but I'll just be honest with you. I had no idea that being nearsighted doesn't mean I have bad vision. It just means it's focused here instead of being focused, where everybody's is at 20/20. I'm like, shit, I could have been doing this all along. Oh well. At least I figured it out. But most of my armies are painted in 20/20 vision. Except I don't think that it helps. I wish we would have had able to have this interaction that we're having now before I had to constantly do this, because the screen is maybe 30 inches away from me where you guys are typing stuff. I can't make out anything that's on there at all. I've got to be like, what is that? I could barely see some vague colors, so I can tell, oh, that blue-green, that's somebody new. And that was when Mr. Simpson came up. So, but I can't make out the J. Oh, well. So I had this superpower and I never used it. How irresponsible of me. And it kind of is a superpower, because if you go and buy a magnifying, one of those magnifying things, you get 3.5. Well, what the hell good is 3.5? I got 6. I got built-in 6, They make a 10, but then the 10's tiny. It's like, like you're working on some jewel or something like that. Because otherwise I've got to put my contacts in. Okay, that gets me up to 20/20 at a distance, but now I can't see up close. And then have to put readers to see up close. I'm like, well, let's just take the freaking contacts out. And yeah, I can't see 2 feet in front of my face, but I can see this all right. It's mildly annoying. The important thing is not be able to have to wear glasses for like driving and stuff like that. I got a set of readers that I keep in my office. I got a set of readers that I bring with myself all the time. It's not a big deal. But I think the first time it started happening is when I went to Historicon or something like that and wanted to look at the miniatures, and I couldn't read the stuff. And I thought it was glare. That's the first thing that happened, is I thought, oh, what's all this glare here? But it's comforting to have something that everybody has. If you're a dude and you're losing your hair, and we all are losing our hair a little bit, it's all right. It's something everybody has. If you got something unusual, that's kind of pain, I got a skin thing I've had. I'm not going to say my whole life, but I got it when I was 18. Yeah. And it kept me out of the military. And even though I still consider it to be extremely minor, and if you were going to look at pictures of it on the internet, you would see horror stories. But I've had psoriasis for like over 30 years. It's mild. It's only in a few places. And I've just learned to live with it. But the worst thing about it isn't the itchy. It isn't the fact that it can't be cured. It's the fact that people come up to you and say, hey, what you got there? I'm like, what, am I on fucking trial or something? Everybody has something. I just happen to have something that is visible, and maybe a lot of people haven't seen before, but it just looks kind of like a burn in a few places. We all have something. Some people have blood issues that nobody knows about. Thankfully, my blood is good and I don't have those internal problems, but we all have something. But when you get something that everybody has, it's a lot more comforting. It's not a big deal to use readers because everybody knows what that is. It's just being questioned. Everybody's got their pet peeves, okay? Mine is to be put on trial or questioned by people who aren't above my pay grade. I don't like doing it. I don't like being questioned. We had a little thing that I used to do with my daughter that a friend of ours was doing. It's this thing called geocaching. And in a nutshell is you find these locations with GPS and people leave little things that aren't worth anything to collect and trade and write on a little note that you were here. Kind of like a treasure hunt, except there's not really a treasure. So we would go do that with the girls when they were younger. But sometimes, to somebody who's a casual observer, it looks like we're stashing drugs, and name any person out there. They've done more drugs than I have, right? I don't want to come across as, sneaking around looking for something like what's this guy up to? And people would start questioning me. What are you doing here? And I'm like, it's not like I'm at somebody's property. Obviously, I'm not going to go on somebody's property to do that. I'm with my 3-year-old daughter, 4-year-old daughter. I'm like, I got to stop doing this, or this is just. Guy was asking me, when are you going to go get geocaching again? I can't do it. I can't be questioned by people that, got no business to question me. That creates stress in my life. We all have our pet peeves. That one's mine. Probably my biggest one, honestly. Now, how different are these colors? Yeah, I think they're different enough. I wonder what materials the Chinese frickin' took away from us. We can't have those anymore. What's your pet peeve? That's probably my biggest one. That and then coming home and somebody's parked in my parking in my on my driveway. I can't even park in my own house. I don't care where I park, but don't park and that comes from an experience that I had too. I used to live in a condo that I had all by myself. And I had 2 parking spots I paid for that had my unit number. I'd come home and the Doobie Brothers, as I called them, next door, they'd take both my parking spots. So I can't even park in my own house that I'm paying for. And they're, out doing drugs or whatever. And that gets at you, man. You're like, I can't handle people not park. I come home from work. I don't get to park on the road, Green ochre. Oh, bubble. All right. And I put this specifically on cardboard for a reason because I knew this one was wet. So I don't mind if some of that gets soaked up. Let's find a dry brush we don't care about anymore. One that's not too expensive. None of these are very expensive. Or people that come and park on your grass, like, how freaking, it's not like there's nowhere to park, don't disrespect other people's stuff, One of these days, I'm just going to start, I'm going to start answering questions with other questions. What are you doing here? Well, who the fuck are you? 2 can play this game, Gladys Kravitz. So I got to stop doing that. Because I can see, but I see somebody doing something weird, I'm not going to confront them. There's crazy people out there. We'll call the cops or something like that. Take notes. I mean, if they're on your property, it's one thing. I'm not going to go on somebody else's property. That's not cool. So yeah, a couple times when I was doing it, I'd run off at lunch and see, I wonder if there's a geocache around here. You could find it on the map. And I'm looking for it, and it's like maybe like on the side of the road. So I gotta like get on a phone, pretend I'm making a fake phone call, just so I'm not arousing suspicion. I'm like, I don't need this in my life. I don't need this in my life. It's not that exciting. I have a frustrating enough day at work to be able to have to do that on my lunch break. Okay, one of these I did first. These should be the ones towards the back, the dryer. Let's do that. Let's try to remember. With this army, Tony, always grab them by the edge of the stand. Yes, sir. Got it. It's so damn watery. And I even have a mixing ball in there. That's why I replaced this one. All right, let's do something. I probably shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyways. Let's see if this one's significantly different. I don't think so. We're going to use that, the dry brush. Oh yeah, baby. There we go. I guess my personal stories just shut you guys up. Okay. I don't have that many of them. I'll be honest with you. My life hasn't been that exciting. I haven't been involved in any controversial type stuff. So I wouldn't be very good at a stand-up comedian for multiple reasons, but one of the reasons I wouldn't be good at a stand-up comedian is I really don't like telling lies. And you know, I've been listening to a fair amount of stand-up comedy on my drive to and from work. We got our vehicles came with, I don't know, a couple of months of that Sirius XM or whatever, and I listened to the comedy channel, and you know, so much of their stuff they leads into like it's a personal story. I'm like, I couldn't do that. I couldn't pretend that, you know, I know that this is a fake story and somehow I'm passing it off as my own story. It just seems so fake, you know. It's just too much trouble to say all that stuff. Hey, remember that time when you told me about that thing? And I'll be like, yeah, I remember that. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that for a living. You ever come across something that's like, man, I don't know how this guy does this. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to do that for a living. Like, I couldn't sell a product. I couldn't be a salesperson, sell a product that I wouldn't believe in, you know. I wouldn't be a good salesperson for, say, Pactra paints. Oh, yeah, these paints are great. My pet peeve is willful ignorance. I'll have to look that one up. I'm sure there's lots of different ways you can. Doing a job and not doing it as best as you can. Not giving a shit. Like, why don't you just quit, dude? We got one done. The last stage is really, really fast. But I do need to kind of be careful because we don't want to touch up any of this stuff that we spent so much time trying to avoid. And I'm not going to rush this. If we get this done in the next hour or so, we get done in the next hour. If not, I'll come back and we'll do this later, you know. It is what it is. Yeah, at this point when I was testing these colors, I'm like, man, this looks awfully yellow. I'm like, all right, I see an example of the finished product. I got to believe. You know, I got to believe that. So, I can get in here with something a little bit smaller. I want some of this color in between the legs here. Oh. So I'm taking the same color and kind of doing almost like a wash. So we get some of the properties of that color in between there, but I'm not running the risk of it coming up his leg. Now, if I was doing a vehicle, I probably would actually want it to come up, you know, on the vehicle itself, but Yeah, something like that. Now let's go ahead and do this one and see if this had any spots that merit that. All right. See, that's not good for you. Oh well. It's like, really? All the bad habits you have, and you're going to get me on that one? Knowing I'm going to have to go in between the legs to do some of this detail stuff. I want to make sure I don't get too close to them and create more work for myself. We're actually going to go in and do the in between the legs part all together. So we're not trying to move this train forward. No, we need more of this core color. So these guys will be done soon. Then we'll start working on the solid auxilia next. Oh, I gotta fit the camels in there somewhere. Now, I may not get to the chariot before I play the army. We'll see. I got no game on Monday. So we got Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, and well, Thursday's gonna be crunch time. Thursday's gonna suck. I take one day off. It's gonna be a pain in the ass to get everything done for that. So difficult to leave work for one day, not because I don't want to leave work, just because, you even leave for lunch and they manage to screw the pooch. These two guys over here, we've already done that. Now, the good thing about desert basing is that because there is no static grass, I can paint the edge of the stand and put the clips. I don't have to wait for that to dry before I put the static grass on. Because you don't want the static grass getting on the dry on any paint that's remotely wet on the side of the stand, and now you've got that all over them. So in that respect, it's easier because I don't have to wait for that paint on the edge to dry. That's a blessing. All right, now let's get in here with something small. That should work fine. And go in here with some details. And I may do some of the same thing with the next color coming up. Just to kind of make sure there's not like 3 colors out here, and then when you look underneath the figure, there's none of it is there. Doesn't have to be very heavy, just a little kind of a subtle color change if it needs it. Okay, he's done. I think we'll make it. I think we'll make it. Get these guys done before I've got to quit at 8. Little disappointed about the guy being. I'm gonna have to be careful with grabbing that one guy at the end. A little disappointed about that, but that's really the only thing. I actually wasn't excited, and this has happened before. I'll finish an army and ready to spray them, and I'm like, I don't know, they don't really look that good or whatever. I guess fuck it, I'll spray them anyways and just move on to the next figures. Then I come back after spraying them like, what the hell happened? They look so much better. Just getting them all sprayed even with the dull coat just brings them up to another level. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just, it makes everything kind of blend together. Sometimes you'll have one color that's shinier than another, and it just kind of evens them all out. That's happened many times. I can't tell you how many times, like, well, I don't really like how these guys are going to turn out. And then, you're done with that, and you're like, oh, shit. Wonderful. So that's where experience comes in. You just need to, know that it's going to work. If you're like, man, this basing looks kind of yellow, just stick through it, Tony. You've done it before, and it turns out okay. It keeps you from getting discouraged when things start to go sideways, supposedly start to go sideways. Last one. found a spot here at his foot where I could see all the way into the base. And this is, the goop didn't make it in there, so I'm going to make it a point to put a bush right there. You know, I could go in there and put some more of that goop, but, you know, I don't want to wait another 6 hours to get these guys completed. When, you know, we're going to have some bushes on here. Okay. One color left to go. Dun, 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 dun. Jules Avery, welcome. They're 3 millimeters thick. They're the only kind that Litco made at the time when I started doing it, and I like the thicker bases. With that said, if they had the 1.5s at the time, I would have gone with that. I only use these because this is what they had, so I like how they turn out. So these are this is the same color as this. They'll end up looking like this once we put the other dry brush on there, and then we do some clumps on here. And, you know, paint the edge, that sort of thing. So, yeah, an army without a flag. Boring. It's all right. Next couple armies we do, they're all going to have flags. We're going to make up for that. We're going to make up for it. Last color is dark sand. Well, we're not going to... I probably could come over here and... Okay, we're good. And this one's pretty dry paint. Yeah. There's hardly anything on here. I don't think it really matters what order I do these guys in. We'll use the same one. Should be fine. Thanks for coming on, folks. Keep me entertained. Hopefully I'm doing the same. Knocking out these folks. Got to get these guys done so we can do more. That's why I love this DBA gaming so much, is because it's not that it's the best rule set in the world, but it's small scale enough that I can go and I can paint something different. I'm like, I'm tired of painting these. I want to paint some Romans. Then after a while, like, I'm tired of painting Romans. Let me paint something different. Well, you can do all that. Now I'm going to compare it. Let's do a little more. You know, you don't have to be like, man, I've been working on this army for 5 years. No, I need short-term goals. I've done the other method. It doesn't work for me. Okay. I have a major rebaiting project for 1690 armies and 15 millimeter. I think I'll try thicker bases, having seen yours. Rebasing. FFS. It's not difficult. I had some French dismounted knights that I changed the basing on them, so I had to pop all the figures off, and I use epoxy. It's not difficult. This stuff comes off real easy. You just get underneath where the piece is, where the figure actually meets this plywood, and just once you get underneath there and pop them off, they come off. No damage. I even reused the bases. So it was kind of a learning experience. So you also use clump bushes as basing repair. There you go. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you'll see stuff online and be like, man, those things look perfect. Now, there's all kinds of mistakes in there. Guy just isn't man enough to show you where they're at. That's right, I went there. Hey, we're all going to make mistakes, unfortunately. You know, shit happens. But I'd rather show you guys that I make mistakes, because when you make them, you're not going to get disappointed. Like, man, I don't know if I can continue doing this miniature hobby when I keep making these, all these mistakes. Or as I like to say, pick what kind of mistakes you make. You know, don't go spilling paint everywhere. That's not good. That's not good. But you know, if you forget to paint something, don't worry. Come back. I've forgotten to paint, I think, like daggers or something on some figures. I went back and painted them after they were already sealed and on the stand. Didn't matter. They were somewhere where they're not going to get touched anyways, and the paint's going to scuff off. Don't fret about it. Only you know that you did that, you know? You got to be happy with what the figures look like. And I'll be honest with you, I am my own worst critic. I am my own worst critic sometimes. Boy, this Joker's getting noisy. Wish I could just take this part out. Guess I could, but cheap ass made you know where thing. That's all I use this for. I had a ruler. I had a metal ruler that I used it. And I used it so much that the numbers wore off on it. You know, had the measurements on it. And I think this is a lot easier to grab. That's the big reason for me to use magnetic stands. You've rebased so often, and I use the weakest glue possible. I took one of my armies. I was in a car accident with them when I was traveling back from Historicon. And not one of the figures broke off of their stand. Some of the figures may have broken off I don't think they got damaged that badly, to be honest with you. For totaling a car, it wasn't that bad. But let's hope we don't have to test that again. Good old epoxy. Epoxy wasn't worth a damn in the 80s. Or the stuff it seemed like I picked up every time had sat on the shelf for a very long time. It just never would cure properly. And now I swear by it. And those 2 tubes I have of epoxy are probably 10 years old. I don't use that much of it. You know, and I still waste most of it. I got to do a little thing today that I'm really not looking forward to in the middle of the day, so I got to try to socialize with people that I've never met before, which I'm not particularly antisocial. Actually, I don't think I'm antisocial at all. The problem is, you know, I'm not defined by what I do for a living, and most people are. And so I don't like to talk about work. I don't like to talk about work even with people that I'm at work with. But Oh, well, that's why alcohol was invented, right? I'm not defined by what I do for a living. And I think a lot of people are. That doesn't mean I don't try to do a good job when I'm at work. I'm just saying that it's not part of me. This is. We'll see. Alcohol to the rescue. Dun, dun, dun. Not a lot, just a couple drinks. Dropped some 20mm Vietnam minis by Platoon 20, and a lot of them snapped at the ankles. Easily fixed with super glue, but really brittle metal. Those guys have been around for a while. I remember there was, when I was a kid, there was a guy that was, I think he was playing a role-playing game with Vietnam. I never got into Vietnam. Never really was my thing. I don't really care to play American conflicts. Maybe I just figure out I'm already American and I want to role play a little bit more than that. But this guy had a lot of those Platoon 20. I love 20mm stuff. That's my first love of scale, is that one. So I know what figures you're talking about. It's got some cute little VC guys that are laying prone, shooting RPGs and stuff, wearing their jammies. Cute looking little figures. And he had them painted nicely. I remember back in that would have been the late 80s. I think he used them for a role-playing game. It was like a role-playing game with miniatures type thing, which would be my way to go for sure. 20mm. I remember somebody on the miniatures page many moons ago. I don't know who it was, but they said 20mm, the one true scale that destroys these scale wars. And then I don't know if it was the same person or somebody else did this one saying I've never forgotten. Anything larger than 20mm is playing with dollies. And I about laughed. I about lost it. At that time, I hadn't even done 15s. I was doing 20mm World War II and obviously micro armor and 1/2400 scale ships and that kind of stuff. But anything larger than 20mm is just playing with dollies. Try to get a rise out of people. I don't care what scale you guys do. It used to be, back when that was coming on, I didn't like 28s because they didn't make miniatures I thought that looked to my appealing. But that's definitely not the case anymore. I just don't have, my whole lifetime to paint an army because that's how long it would take. I'd be that guy that would spend 12 hours on a figure, and yeah, I don't have time for that. I want to paint different armies to experience painting them and also play them differently in battle and things like that. We're going to just do a thin little wash in a few areas to kind of blend the figure in a little bit. And then we'll be done with this we got to do the rocks. We got to make the rocks pop a little bit. I'll never forget that. Would I do a 20mm DVA army? No. No, they just don't have the figures. I wouldn't paint those plastic bendy figures. No, but all my World War II skirmish is 20mm. When I was doing that was the scale to do it. They had all the vehicles in 1/72nd or 1/76th. Everything was available. My idea of skirmish is running half a squad, not, running a company. I can't get games of that completed. We can't even finish a game of Gaslands, and that's kind of the same scale. So I'd do Gaslands before. I'd go back to play Gaslands before I'd play 20 millimeter World War II. Nobody would want to play with me 20 millimeter World War II. Just wouldn't get anything accomplished. There's a set of rules out there I'm pretty happy with, but you know, they're out of print, and it's super, you know, bean counting kind of stuff compared to, you know, bolt action or something like that. I'm fine not playing. I'm fine not doing that, gaming that period in miniature anymore. There's lots of games I could get my fill out of. All right, let's see if we need to go back and revisit any of this stuff. Are we pretty happy with that? Let's take a look at them from over here. Well, I got an area here I wouldn't mind working on a little bit. If I did DBA at another scale, it'd probably be 6. The problem with 6 is there just aren't the variety of castings. And I've looked recently. I would do 6 and I would base them still on these same stands. So in other words, a unit of Auxilia, say for instance, would still be here. It would just have a lot more guys and they can be in some kind of a formation, but I don't know that I would do Ancients in that. Thought about possibly doing Fantasy in 6, but the variety of stuff just isn't there. And I'll do that. One of the things I like to do the most is search for figures. So I'll get this idea like, I wonder if I did this, what figures would I use? So I spend the next couple hours looking for figures. And then, you know, I'm satisfied with that. And then I can go back to, you know, back to painting my 15 historicals. Because if it takes me this long to complete an army in this, it's just... And I'm going to use these guys. So the other stuff, I could potentially be painting something just to paint it and never play with them. All right. Just need some work in this area. And that's why I'm adamant about this game. Not because this game is the most wonderful game in the whole world. It's pretty darn good. But I'm going to get a lot of gameplay out of it. It's not going to be like, well, we're not going to play this anymore. You know, 20 years from now, when I no longer play DBA, I'm going to be playing some DBA-sized game that's going to use these same figures. So the time I'm spending to do this is not going to be wasted. If I don't have that attitude, I'll be like, you know what, I'd rather just play a computer game than sit here and slave away at this. If in 5 years this game's gonna die, or you know, that was the whole reason for me doing videos in the first place. I was like, man, I gotta let people know how much fun we're having with this rule set, so we'll have someone to play with. You know, I mean, it's all fine and dandy if you're playing some game and you play it within your game group, but you know, I've lived in this town long enough that people come and go, and when these people that I have now are gone, you know, there's got to be people playing this game somewhere around the world, or otherwise I'm up a creek. So I just don't see anybody seeing this set of rules up on the bookshelf, taking a look at them and going, yeah, I want to play that, because it's so difficult to understand. I'm just dying to wrap my head around that. It's been one hell of an uphill ride. It has been one hell of an uphill ride. Okay, this is the part where we're going to go ahead and paint the edges. Oh, no, we got to do the rocks. Sorry. And I think pale sand is the color I was using for the rocks. I was pretty happy with that. It's almost damn near white. It's either this one or the one below it. This is beige, it's the one below it. Nope, that's ice yellow. Oh man, this chair is loud. The bitching chair. How about this one? That's buff. Alright, where the hell is my pale sand? If I ever get to Florida, I'll make sure that I bring an army with me. Okay. You can also just show up. Welcome to Florida. Why wouldn't you come to... We'd take you. We take people from all other places that are a lot less undesirable than New Zealand. Got no problems with Kiwis, especially you. Come on down. It's a great game. But you know what? It's about the people that you're playing with, because we'd have a good time playing no matter what. And we have. We've had good times playing other games. It's about the people. One of these days, we got to work on Gaslands and learn it well enough to film it, because there's some crazy... They'd be long videos, though. There's some crazy stuff that happens in that game. Or as I like to call it, let's watch Luke crash. Should send that video to the DMV. They'd revoke his driving privileges in real life. You drive like a maniac in a game. We can't trust you on the open highway. You can't crash fast enough to win. How are we looking? Yeah, we're still all right. Gonna be close. Da-da-da. You have 15s as well as 28s. There's a lot of really nice 28mm figures out there. I just don't have the time to devote to them. You know, if I was like dying to paint an army, but I don't see it. It's not. We're going to water this down really heavily, and then we're just going to go over these few rocks here with this. Watered down look. Just on the rock. If I did do 28s, I'd mount them in a way that they'd be like on sabots or something like that. So you could pull them off and play some kind of a skirmish game as well, and they could do double duty. I don't know what skirmish game I would play, but I don't know. Did I put enough on there? I think I need to do more than that. I think I went too thin. There we go. Come on, get you some. All right. Walks for sale. Painting some French Napoleonics 3D printed pontoon wagons and pole teams circa 1815. Did someone piss you off yesterday? Why? What happened? Well, I was at work, so yeah. That's every day, but in particular, no. Why did you? Is there a hit up on the board for me? When we were all young and stupid, we'd stay up all night at conventions and play a chariot racing game with our chariots from our ancient armies for a lot of beers. What's that game? John Wick. There's a hit out for Tony. No, there's not. No, I didn't get in a shouting match with anybody that I can think of right off the bat. Certainly not when I'm not at work. Because when I'm not at work, I'm like, oh, cool, there's a problem over there. All right, I'll go this way. I'm like, I don't have time for that crap. I don't like something over there. Instead of, let me go over there and tell that someone that I don't like them, I just ignore the hell out of them. I ignore the living shit out of people if I don't like them in my personal life. It saves a whole lot of trouble. Actually, I do have a lot of stories, but they're work related, and man, I don't want to relive that stuff. They tend to not be funny. Oh man. 27 years. 27 years in the same place. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that stuff. I don't even tell my wife about that stuff. There's no point reliving it. But I have this saying, I inspect loads and stuff like that as part of my job, going out, and people do unsafe stuff. They'll do things that aren't secured properly. And another one of my sayings is, if I absolutely wanted you to kill somebody, I want to pick who it is. I don't want to just be some random old lady that's just minding her own business on the road. Be safe, dude. If I wanted you to kill somebody, I'd tell you who I wanted killed, not just some random person that didn't deserve it. Yeah. No, we're not going to get into work stories. I'll get freaking angry. We'll talk about them, but over a beer. How about that? Be another channel. Work stories with Tony. Nah, nobody wants to hear that. There's an ad on Sirius XM, and I forget which one it is. It's some channel that apparently is, the theme of it is, I don't know if it's just one show. I think it's just one show on this one channel. This guy is promoting it, and he's basically, talking about work stories and the scams people used to pull at work. And I'm like, there's people that pull scams at work? And I couldn't work with people like that, man. I've heard of them. I'm just saying, people that have maybe something in inventory and people pay them directly and it disappears. They get it at a discount. I've heard of stuff like that happen. I may have even, heard of something happen in my industry. Not at our plant, but, running scams at work. That means you don't have enough work to do, man. I just want to do my job and get the hell out of there. I ain't got time for scams. But I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff that goes on that I'm just living in my fantasy land, I guess. Not really knowing what the real world is like. You got time to run scams at work. You don't have enough work on your plate. Maybe a little bit more on this rock. This rock's a little saltier. I had one guy that, man, it was a long time ago, but it was still, I had still already been at this place for a while. It may have been 15 years ago. The guy said something like, I'm going to kick your ass. I said, all right, well, you can do that, but you need to get in the back of the line because some people have been waiting 15 years to do it and it'd be rude to get in front of them. Wait your turn. I was telling one of my stories to someone, and they said, aren't you worried that some guy's going to come unglued and take you out? I said, only at the end of the day. After I've worked my whole day. If you're going to take me out, do it at the beginning of the day. I don't have to work a whole day and then get taken out. That's not cool. All right. All right, here's our rocks here. And let's paint the edges of the stand. What's this little love note from the phone say? Okay, 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 okay. Update postponed. Why are you going to try to update my phone now? Don't you think this is like a terrible idea? A terrible time to, like, why you even download something right now? I'm busy with my people. All right. Let's get the old El Cheapo black. This stuff's actually pretty decent, considering how cheap it is. As soon as we're done with this, we need to go put this away somewhere else so we don't like put my fingers on it and then get it over my figures. That's just a waste. I think we can just use this one right here. We're not going to use this thinner. I think it might actually behave kind of weird with this thinner. I just end up using water. I just wet it a little bit for maneuverability. All right. I just stick these guys on here, move them to the edge of the stand. And you would think that a square bladed brush would do a better job on edges than a round one, but it doesn't. Those square bladed brushes I don't have much of use for. They're okay for, painting some of the stuff on backdrops that I've done. But short of that, I gotta be careful. Make sure we don't grab that one figure. So I can't twist it on the edge while the edge is wet. Almost done. Yeah. Ish. Probably not going to get a chance to do the clump. Have to do the clumps later today. It's okay. That's the fun part. That's a pretty fun part to do. Okay. Next. Uh-oh. Basing my Egyptians on the pharaoh has a tiny piece of the Great Pyramid as a rock on his base. Like you went to Egypt and took a piece of the Great Pyramid? Uh-oh. They're going to come after you. What is it? UNESCO? Is that what it is? The preservers of that stuff? It's something like that. They're going to be all over you. The Great Pharaoh. Which one? Is he a certain pharaoh, or is he the... like the one in the Bible that doesn't say who he is? Who do you want him to be? I would have built a New Kingdom Egyptian army already. But everybody has one. I don't blame them. It's a good army. They look cool. I like to read about them in grade school. Everybody did. My kind of army. 4 blade, 4 bow, 4 light chariots. That's my kind of thing. That's the weak figure. Don't grab him. He's a weakling. You said weak-kneed? No, he's a weak-ankled figure. Yeah, one of the reasons I actually don't like playing on Mondays is because, Mondays tend to be a very busy day for me because Tuesdays, a lot of things go out for delivery on Tuesday. And, I'm hot, I'm burned out. I've spent all day wearing clothes I don't want to wear with PPE just because of the industry I'm in, not necessarily because of COVID. And, and I go to play games and I'm tired. I've been up for hours, and then when I'm done I still have to edit a video, and Mitch just goes and he has another day off. So I enjoy playing on like weekends, because then I get to be the Mitch, because I have a normal Monday through Friday schedule, and lots of people we play with have weird schedules. So yeah, I've been hot all freaking day long. So, not going to get any sympathy from people that say, I got to work from home. Oh, I got to get to wear whatever the hell I want when I go to work from home. Pfft, cry me a river. What are you doing this weekend? I don't know, but I'm doing it indoors. Until it's wintertime. Then I want to be outside all the time. At least in this state. Winter's awesome. More likely, the mummy's curse will follow you till you take the tiny piece back, if you believe in that sort of thing. Yeah. Well, you know what I like to say is, it's it doesn't matter if you believe in a deity that sacrifices humans; they're still sacrificing humans. I was on a different subject. I was trying to go to bed last night, and I was looking at a place that provides aftermarket parts for your car, so you could, customize your shift boot. I guess that'd be the correct name to do it, or your shifter, all that kind of stuff. Some things are just completely outlandish. And there's a company who had the audacity. I guess audacity is the correct thing. I would never do this. But they made like these shift boots. They make like religious ones or whatever. That's cool if that's your kind of thing. But they made one with the freaking Baphomet statue all over it. I'm like, no, not going there. It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. That's just bad vibes, dude. I'm not putting no goat horn bastard in my car. Oh, but he's the god of pleasure. I don't give a fuck. That's some creepy stuff. You know how you guys are afraid of clowns? Not me. That's my clown right there. Clowns. You could burn a clown. You can't burn some Satanist thing. It gets bigger. Think about it. Yeah, who would want that? I don't care if you're religious or not. That's just bad vibes. I got a bad feeling about this, Sarge. Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, holy cow. Nope. I've come across that before too. That throw blankets. We're looking at throw blankets or whatever. Yeah, there's a throw blanket with Baphomet on it. I'm like, no. Nope. Matter of fact, if you got one, we can't be friends anymore. That's just disturbing. I don't care whether you're Christian or not. That doesn't matter. That's just, there's some things that just creepy. Who would sell that? There's a video game that we used to play a long time ago that was, oh, we've already done that one. Tells you how blind I am. That we used to play a long time ago. It was called, forgot what the name of it is, but it's called I found it's called Darklands. I want to say it's even by Microprose. This came out in 1992, 1993, something like that. Good old EGA graphics. And it's kind of a role-playing game where you're in 16th century Germany. So, you've got Maximilian time period, and you've got fuggers that are lending money and that kind of stuff, that time period, early Renaissance. And the plot of the thing is you go around, I'm sorry, I'm going to spoil the plot of a freaking video game that's almost 40 years old. Or is it 30 years old? It doesn't matter, it's old as shit. But you get to create your characters and their skills go up, and you get to create their shields in a basic way, so, but you run this party of like 4 characters, and you go around early Renaissance Germany trying to solve this mystery. And the mystery is basically, if I remember correctly, the Teutonic Knights are in cahoots with Baphomet, and you got to battle them at the end. But Yeah, I'm not getting the Baphomet throw, sorry. I'd rather have a throw blanket with the Green Bay Packers on it. Like, I don't see enough of that every day. Every week. All right, was this the last one? It is. All right, now we got to pick up some shrubbery. Have you done a chariot themed game night? I have. We do, and we'll do them again. I have a chariot army. My terracotta warriors are a chariot army. Yep. Terracotta. All right, let's see what we got here. I know we got some Australian toughs in here. We got Australian toughs, and we've got these ones that come from Portugal. That's what it looks like. Let's see. Always a challenge finding this stuff, even though it's right here. The problem is it's in this like a little caddy, and the things slip on their side. These gamer's grass sounds like something you smoke. I wouldn't know about that. I really wouldn't. I like to talk about it, but that's the dry one. I think I didn't want to make it too arid looking. I believe it's the wild grass. These are from Leadbear Tufts out in Australia. My friend sent me a nice little gift there for my birthday. And the guy makes them himself. So let's pull out 2 for each stand of each. And we'll start from there. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Counting with Tony. Just too exciting here. Okay, and these are actually stickier. Than these other ones. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, get ye old Elmer's glue out, or as you guys all over the world like to call PVA. PVA sounds like it's like super strong. Oh, it's just white glue. Pfft. I'll use scientist. Oh man, was there black already there? That's from last night. We should be good. And let's use a brush we don't love anymore. Or better yet, one we never did. Should be fine. And of course, our tool. So I'm going to look on here and see what areas I'd rather not be covered. I'd rather them not be seen, so. going to put one here. And let's make sure that we have the tweezers handy. If I remember correctly, last time I used the lead bear tufts, they're a lot stickier than the other ones. So I sometimes have posted a quick update video. Okay, I'll check that out tonight or later today while I'm waiting for my tinting to be done. I'm not sure if I'm going to stay there or not, just to be determined. Yeah, these, I had problem releasing. Man, these jokers are sticky. There we go. Now let's press this down and hopefully not pull it back up when we do that. Okay, we're going to do another one back here. The happy rock's growing over there. Let's put it right here. This one looks to be a smaller one. I didn't start using the shrubs until I want to say around 2015. I think it makes a big difference. Yeah, see, this one likes to come back up. Yeah, they're a bit sticky. All right, a bit of white glue showing there. That'll dry just fine. Should be. All right, we're going to put that there. All right, and then we're going to put, and we're not necessarily going to put two of each on each one. I can see putting one here and another one there. So this one will have 4. And you can cut these to shape. I like to keep them this size for these particular ones. Some of my other ones I do like to, but these clump nicely like that. What do we got? You think the terrain our armies were in then looks the same as it does today? You know, there's a lot of things I don't worry about. That's one of them. I don't think it looks significantly different. Lots of people worry. I don't know. I don't know. I think that 3,000 years, as far as terrain goes, isn't a huge amount of time. It really isn't. Yeah, I've never really given it any thought. Like lots of people worry about, you know, planets, and oh, there's a black hole that's 5,000 light years away. I'm like, just leave me alone. I don't give a shit. You don't even know what kind of shields the freaking Romans painted on. And that was yesterday. And you think you can tell me something that if we traveled the speed of light, it would take still 5,000 years? No. Don't even go there. Not interested. Too unfathomable. But never really gave any thought into if the terrain changed. I don't know. They said it was wetter back then. I honestly don't know. Well, here's one complete. We may trim some of this tuft so it doesn't come off the edge once that dries. Got a little glue. Here's the guy that needs to have a bush right up his ass. Plant that guy's ass in a bush. We're going to go ahead and fix that one so we don't forget to do that. This is where I would normally just do this and put a little bit of the static grass. I did look at, when I was doing shields, I'm like, okay, these guys are supposed to have goat hide shields. And they're like, okay, well, do ancient goats look the same as goats that are in that area now? And I'm like, oh my God, I can't figure it out. Let me just paint it how it looks. And I kind of hit upon the point that I've got to paint the shields a dark color so that they pop from this light color ground. If I paint them light color, it's just not going to look right, you know? North Africa was supposedly a lot greener. Yeah, there was a lot of crops that came out of Tunisia. And I can't imagine that place producing a lot of grain. I mean, it's not completely arid, but it's not where I would be, you know, it's not where I would be basing all my hopes and dreams of nutrition. I really haven't given it much thought. Global warming, it's always changing. It's always changing, always has. You know, the only thing I think it'd be really cool to find out exactly, if we ever find out exactly which way Hannibal took to cross the Alps, I think that would be cool. You know, there's got to be stuff buried in there we haven't found yet. But I've read several books on the subject, and I'm not a huge Hannibal fan. It doesn't mean I don't think he was a good general. I'm not a fanboy of him. But I do think it's pretty interesting. It's kind of a significant event. That's kind of, you know, would be interesting to pinpoint where that would be. Hannibal fanboy. Yeah, there's lots of those. Well, I think he was an excellent general. There's nothing to do about that. I'm just not a Carthaginian fan. It doesn't mean the Romans were all holy either, but true story or not, and I tend to believe that there's some truth to it, especially since they're not the first civilization that did such a thing. I ain't sacrificing my own kids before a battle just so I could maybe please the gods and win. I'm not sacrificing my family. That shit ain't happening. So I'm not a big fan of people that sacrifice living things for potentially something that may or may not exist. You're talking to the wrong guy here. You know, well, we need to sacrifice people so that the sun will rise. Well, did it not rise like every time or what? Talking to the wrong guy here. Let's take a look at the pattern that we have here on some of these guys, because I don't want it to be a recurrent, like there's always a bush in front of that one guy kind of thing. Okay. Boom, 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 and then boom, 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 boom. Okay, got it. All right, so it'd be okay if this one didn't have something in front of him. But then we can have something in the middle. Well, the middle's kind of cluttered. All right. We'll put this pattern in the middle, right here. Front and center. Okay. Then we're going to put one of these green ones. Let's get this one that's really big and put it in this spot that's kind of big. Back here behind this guy. We'll put it back there. Man, I'm cutting it close. I am really cutting it close. I need more glue than that. These leadbear tufts behave totally different than the other ones. They've got, it almost looks like there's like a glue dot that he put down and then put the stuff on it. And the problem is the glue dot is it tends to pull up when I'm not careful with it. I don't know, I just need to, there we go. Got it to behave there. Maybe we'll only put 3 on this one. I like that area over here. Let's put another one of these green ones here. Yeah. Maybe it behaves better if I just don't put this Elmer's down underneath it. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, so specifically there's no grass over on this end. Yeah, try to mix it up a little bit. This has got rocks everywhere. So we're going to put a green one, say here, a greener one. I like this one standing up, just like, be proud, young bush. You talking to your plants? Nope, just my tufts. Let's put one over. Let's put one of these smaller ones over here. I like that area over here. What if I just put 2 on there? Yeah, they're kind of an arable army. Let's put 1 here. Last one. All right, the big green bush, they take up a little bit more space. So let's put 1 here. And let's put another one, say here. Oh, I hear the sounds of civilization. The natives are up. The natives are restless. All right, and here, we're gonna put 1 here. And we'll call it a day. I lied, we're gonna put 1 more down. Ah, ha, 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 ha. right here. We got one left of each. Perfect. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Let's put them on our little stand here. Here, those bushes would be tumbling in the wind. All right, let's... Yeah. Here they are. 5 stands of fast blade. You can't, they look kind of boring like this because the shields are just kind of like just a boring mass. But the backside, that's the part I get to see. I think there's just enough color there to, you know, to give them some kind of excitement. So now we got 9 stands done. So we just have 2 solid ox. Here's the other guys. 2 skirmishers. 2 auxilia. Here's the Amorites so far. They look pretty good. So, you know, look, it's the Essex figures you guys have seen all the time. You know, the things that people don't get excited about. Any figures you can get to make look really good. So, really nice, love them. I love this desert basing. It just, the lighter color basing just makes things just pop. So, there's gonna be another Book One army for sure. Probably Assyrians. We'll do my later Sargonids. Those are all museum figures. Again, figures that have been around forever. Nobody gives them a second glance. So, okay. Well, I got to start doing real life stuff, but don't know if I'll be back on today, but not for sure tomorrow morning. We will pick up with the solid auxilia. But thanks for coming by, folks, and we'll see you guys soon. See ya.